Good morning, America. Good to see you on this Thursday. I'm Vanessa Broussard. Today, we're looking into disgraced Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She's been the subject of multiple accusations and controversies, and today she's facing renewed scrutiny over major discrepancies in her financial disclosures, particularly tied to a California winery and her husband's business holdings. In those filings, Omar reported that she and her husband held assets valued at $30 million. Much of that was tied to two businesses connected to her husband, a venture capital firm called Rose Lake Capital and also a California-based winery. The winery alone was listed as being worth between $1 million and $5 million. The sudden increase in her worth raised red flags. Watchdog groups and House Republicans launched investigations into how those numbers were calculated. But now Ilhan Omar has amended her financial disclosure, saying earlier numbers were inaccurate due to an accounting error. The updated filing shows her assets now at around $95,000. The winery has now dissolved, no longer in business. We all asked questions, and Ilhan doesn't seem to like that we were on to her. Just this week, she cussed our reporter, Allison Steinberg, after calling her and her questions stupid. Watch.
Hi, Congresswoman Omar. You were just talking about how Trump's economy has failed the American people, but I think the American people really want to know how you went from a negative $65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public now.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure, so can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it, and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest. Recently stated that the American people should be afraid of the white man. They should be fearful of the white man.
I never said that.
Yeah, you're on video saying it.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
No, I did not.
Yes, you.
Again, this is like what I said. You need to prepare yourself, because you can't continue embarrassing yourself like this.
So I'm just a liar.
What I was quoting was an actual study done by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Just prepare next time.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman. Congresswoman Omar, the last time I spoke to you, you said that I was stupid for asking you about your financial disclosure, but there's some discrepancies on there. Would you like to explain them? How did you make such a big mistake on
I
this?
still do think you're stupid for asking me anything.
I am?
Yes.
Well, what about the American people who are wondering how you made such a big
I have
mistake?
explained to the American people.
What's the explanation?
I have given them the explanation.
Do you want to tell our viewers? Because they're
I don't want to tell you jack shit.
Oh.
How about that?
Okay.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Ilhan doesn't believe she has to tell us anything. Her legal team maintains there was no wrongdoing and that the correction was made voluntarily, and that the issue was identified. But it was only identified after we started asking questions. The House Oversight Committee is investigating. A drastic drop in net worth when the numbers change this much. The questions only get louder, and we will continue pressing for answers. There's also a feud going on between Representatives Nancy Mace and CORY Mills. Have you seen that one? It too is getting louder by the day. Nancy Mace wants Mills expelled from Congress for misconduct allegations, and it's tied to an incident where police were called. Here's one of her many posts. She says this: the only acceptable outcome for CORY Mills is expulsion. We just introduced a resolution to expel him from Congress, and his own record speaks for itself. She goes on to list those, saying allegedly beat women, told them to lie about it, and tried to call Pam Bondi when questioned by police. Cyber-stalked women, lied about his military service, profited off federal contracts while serving as a sitting member of Congress. She says this is also the same person who protected Ilhan Omar when we tried to censor her. We didn't come to Congress, she says, to watch people abuse their position of power and get away with it. CORY, your days are numbered. Start packing, she says. Again, that's just one of the many on her social media posts. CORY Mills has been defending himself and going back at Mace. Here's one of his many posts. Hey, Representative Nancy Mace, you irresponsibly claim to have overwhelming evidence to expel me. Why won't you call your resolution you filed to the floor for a vote? Is it because you didn't think you would get called out? What will be the excuse? You used to hide the fact it's all a political theater you're using to get donations. You claim to hold the line, or is it that only peacocking as well? Call the vote, Nancy. Well, in an exclusive interview with LINDELLTV, U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin is pushing back on what he calls a fake news narrative on the CORY Mills controversy. Watch.
Hey everybody, Kara Castronova with LINDELLTV, standing here with Ed Martin in front of the White House. And as you know, Ed is the pardon attorney for the Trump administration and has done so many great things in the past, like the J6 stuff that we worked on together. But we're talking about CORY Mills today. And you were the
U.S. Attorney,
yep, for
US
Washington, D.C. when the Metropolitan Police gave you a warrant, right, I believe, about CORY Mills about a year ago. And there's been a lot of misinformation that has been reported since, I've heard.
Yes.
So I just wanted to get the scoop from you.
Well, listen, one of the reasons I was happy to talk to you is that, as usual, the fake news is not telling the story. The story is the Metropolitan Police Department, the MPD, failed in their job. And then they wanted a mop-up job. And it wasn't the Trump administration or anyone else's job to do that. And I think Washington Post and others are reporting it incorrectly. MPD failed. There was, frankly, the leadership at the top failed, and that's the story. And to go into the facts, at the time I was U.S. Attorney, when something like this happens, according to the MPD policies, their policy is when there's a domestic violence issue, they go out to the site and they're going to take someone away. That's their policy. I'm not here to argue for it, but that's what their policy is. In this case, their supervisor, the commander on that day, was called, and he said, let them all stay there. And that's what they did. We were notified that there had been an incident. It happened to be CORY Mills, but there are incidents every night and all kinds of things going on. And the next morning, as the story broke in the press, MPD incompetently said, now you have to indict the guy. And we said, you didn't have probable cause last night. You didn't put it together last night.
Right.
And now you're changing your story. Why? And the reason why is because it was a mop-up job because of the attention it was getting. And again, I have no position on anybody's conduct. I have a position on the fact that the higher-ups at the MPD decided to try to fix what is frankly just corruption. It's corruption, whether they were, I don't know if they paid to do it, but they were corrupt because their worldview, their sense was, we're going to do what we want and then we're going to make somebody else cover it up. And so we didn't do that. And I will say, career prosecutors in my office said, oh, well, maybe we should do it. You know, they're asking nice. There has to be standard. The rule of law is based on the rules and they're being abided by. And again, if they'd gone and interviewed somebody the next day, if they had brought the purported victim or others in and said, we now have probable cause, that's a different argument. That's not what they tried to do.
So you're saying that when the case was presented to you, there was no probable cause at the time?
That's what they said. They didn't have, because they left him on site and they wanted to now change their...
So they didn't remove somebody?
They didn't remove somebody. They made the judgment that there wasn't an issue to the level that they should react, and so we held back.
So the standard practice is if somebody has to be removed for there to be probable cause, and that didn't happen.
That's their policy, and so they wanted to relook at this the next day, and we weren't going to play that game. And again, you know, they have to do their job. My own opinion on this was that they were playing games with the rules, and frankly, as someone at the time said, the cops that arrive have to know that they're going to be given assurance by their supervisor. The commander says, "Don't bring them in. There's not enough there." And they wanted to mop it up the next day.
Right. Okay, that's interesting because that's obviously not what's being reported.
Correct.
What is being reported exactly that you want to specifically target?
Well, I just want to make sure people, they're trying to blame the U.S. Attorney's Office and our people, and I think we handled it very professionally. We were upfront and clear about it at the time. You know, we're not taking a position on any crime. You do the crime, you should be arrested, should be prosecuted. We're not afraid of that, but I just don't like seeing the mainstream media, the fake news media, trying to blame the Trump administration and pretend that we were either complicit or encouraging people, whether they're in power or out of power, elected official, not elected official. You got to do the right things.
Right. Okay. Anything else? I
No.
mean, so the mainstream media, you're thinking, as usual, I would say, always wants to sort of pin this on the Trump administration.
Exactly. I mean, look, the MPD had a police chief that looks and feels like a DEI hire. She's long gone now. She wasn't up to the job. She made that clear when I think she resigned. She used, expletives and all kinds of things. She was a failure, and this was a kind of failure. These are her people. These are her supervisors. Don't blame us for that, right? In fact, in many ways, since then, President Trump has been fearless in saying we're going to protect the people of D.C. every way we can, over the top if we have to,
Right.
by bringing in the National Guard.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. Hopefully this information will come out and people will actually report on it. So
Right.
I'm hoping that the truth will come out.
Exactly.
I know that CORY Mills is a hot topic right now with the congressional investigation. So I'm hoping all of this will come to the light. Thank you so much,
Thank
Ed
you.
Martin.
Great
Thank
to see you, Kara. Thanks.
too.
All right, CORY Mills, he posted this interview on his social media, the one you just saw, and he says he's been cleared. Nancy Mace still claims wrongdoing. But once again, MAGA is in the ring boxing each other. And as they box it out, let's talk about other issues going on in Washington, because there are plenty, like funding Homeland Security. I was in Washington this week, got to speak with some members of Congress, had a great time trying to get answers from them. Let's go to an interview with Congressman William Timmons on getting DHS funded and protecting our citizens from illegals. Let's talk about DHS funding. We are big backers of our military, of our Border Patrol, of everything that falls under DHS. The Democrats, not so much. So there's a battle going on Capitol Hill. What can you tell us? What's the latest going on there?
Well, the Democrats refuse to fund DHS. It's ridiculous. We're currently engaged in a conflict with the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, Iran. And Iran had 4 years under Joe Biden to get whoever they wanted to into this country illegally across our southern border. So we're in this incredibly precarious situation. Democrats refuse to fund the people that are responsible for protecting us. It is just insanity.
It really is insanity. And, they have made the good guys look like the bad guys. We've seen a lot of that with our ICE agents, and that's not the case. And so it's very unfortunate. But the American people are smart, and they know that our men and women out there protecting our homeland are the good guys.
That's exactly right. And Republicans are going to do it on our own. We're going to use reconciliation to fund the Department of Homeland Security for at least 3 years, possibly more. And we're going to do that as quickly as possible. Help is on the way. I think that the president has taken the appropriate extraordinary actions to make sure that we're able to pay our Homeland Security employees. So we're running out of money in the bucket he's been using, so we got to act here in Congress, and it seems like the Democrats are not going to help.
No, they're not, but we're going to get it done without them, right?
We are going to get it done.
Unfortunately, Congressman, there are so many lives who have been taken due to illegal immigrants that were let in under the Biden administration. In your state, we just had 2 children killed by an illegal who was driving drunk. What can you tell us about that case? It's very sad to see that report coming out of your state.
I mean, it's an absolute tragedy, and it's preventable. Joe Biden is responsible for all of the harm that has occurred to the American citizens because of his policies. Democrat policies have consequences. They have consequences, and we're seeing that. And these are very preventable tragedies. President Trump's taking the appropriate steps necessary to secure the border. There have been 0 illegal crossings in many, many months. And we're doing everything we can to deport the criminal illegals that are in this country that have committed violent felonies and need to be deported. It's ridiculous that Democrats are refusing to fund ICE because of that. So we're going to do our job here in Congress, and the president's going to do everything he can to make us safer.
Well, we appreciate all that you do. I come from a military and law enforcement family, and so on behalf of everyone in my family and the Americans out there protecting our homeland, we appreciate people like you coming to the Capitol and fighting for our brave men and women.
It's an honor. I'm one of the few members of Congress. I was a prosecutor for 5 years. I still serve in the Air Force as a captain in the South Carolina National Guard, and I get to be a member of Congress. So I'm doing everything I can to help preserve the American dream, and it's just an honor to do that.
And new this morning, just coming in, the Senate GOP has passed a budget resolution. In the overnight hours, they approved unlocking $70 billion for ICE and Border Patrol. So good news there. And of course, the Republicans had no help from the Democrats. In the meantime, Representative Don Bacon, a Republican, is siding with the Democrats when it comes to allowing Haitians to be here in our country even longer. Those who are here temporarily are getting an extension, and he's eyeing more extensions for people here on temporary status from El Salvador and Venezuela. Our Allison Steinberg caught up with him to ask him why.
Hi, Congressman Bacon. You recently voted with all Democrats to extend TPS for Haitians for another 3 years. Over 90% of these Haitians entered the country illegally, and actually,
they're legal now.
Well, 60% of them rely.
They're legal now. They work. They're not allowed on welfare unless there's unique situations like they're married to an American. And so, are you part of the Know Nothing Party I was talking about in the 1850s?
No,
You sound like it.
Well, 60% of these people rely on public assistance. So how is this fair to the taxpayer?
It's maybe true for those not on TPS that are here, but the TPS, there's rules. You can't be on welfare unless you're married to an American that's under the poverty level. So do your research before you start bringing up questions.
Can you explain how this TPS is actually temporary when it continues to extend and extend? It's been enacted since 2010.
Most of them have been here about 10 years. They're working, they're paying taxes, and most Americans support it.
And you also recently said that you are going to look into extending TPS for El Salvadorians and Venezuelans.
We have a lot of El Salvadorans working in Omaha. They own homes. They have been here over 10 years, most of them. And it's decency. That's what most Americans want. What is part of decency you don't get?
Well, I mean, it's the American people that are concerned about the future of this nation.
Most of the American people want decent immigration, and they oppose sending people home. They've been here, most of them have been here 10 years. They're working, they're paying taxes. And so I would say you're wrong.
But isn't it a drain?
You represent a minority of the country that hates immigrants.
That's not true.
You can tell.
Millions of people are just concerned about the future of this nation. They say that, aliens.
I see you're wearing a cross. You ever read the verses in the New Testament that talk about how you should treat immigrants?
Yeah, I don't think that means just opening up the country for everyone to come here.
And these people are legal. What do you don't get about that? They're legal.
Okay, well,
They're
as far as
legal, and they're working, they're paying taxes. They're not even allowed on welfare.
Actually,
unless they're married to an American, or there's some out when they get on it. So I just think you don't have your facts right, and you represent like a 20% core or 20% group that
I actually represent the majority of the MAGA base, and I mean, I think you're misaligned with the president on this, and many others are concerned about that as well.
Well, I represent the vast majority. I represent my district, and I won my district.
Okay, so as far as the amnesty bill or the Dignidad bill, because it's actually titled in Spanish.
Amnesty. So you are a hardcore anti-immigrant person. Wow, please start reading the New Testament every day. It maybe do you well.
I do. Thank you very much, Congressman.
She is not, and we are not anti-immigration. We're anti-illegal immigration, and they're here temporarily, so they need to go in the legal way and get permanent status. We don't hand those out on a silver platter to just everyone. So Allison is right. And he sounds more like a Democrat than a Republican. Americans want secure borders and real immigration reform, not open-ended welfare magnets and endless extensions. So we'll keep an eye on the Dignidad Act. A major political showdown also unfolding this morning in Virginia, where newly approved congressional maps are now on hold, just hours after votes signed off on a dramatic redistricting overhaul. On Tuesday, Virginia voters voted yes to redistrict the state, making it 10-1 in favor of Democrat representation. Imagine that. 1 district, Republican, 10 Democrat. But a state judge has blocked the implementation and certification of those maps after a lawsuit from Republicans. The court ruling says the referendum may have violated the Constitution. Virginia's Attorney General has already vowed to appeal. Here's how the president responded after the election was called. He said this: "A rigged election took place last night in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. All day long, Republicans were winning. The spirit was unbelievable until the very end, when, of course, there was a massive mail-in ballot drop. Where have I heard that before?" And the Democrats came out with another crooked victory, he says. 6-5 goes to 10-1. And yet the presidential election in November was very close to a 50-50 split. In addition to everything else, he says, the language on the referendum was purposefully deceptive. As everyone knows, I am an extraordinarily brilliant person, and even I had no idea what the hell they were talking about in the referendum, he says, and neither do they. Let's see if the courts will fix this travesty of justice. Republicans are calling the new Virginia maps a power grab. Expect a lot of court cases and rulings on this one. It's already starting, and it's not over yet. Over in Texas, a major legal victory there. A federal appeals court has cleared the way for the 10 Commandments to be displayed in public school classrooms statewide. U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit has ruled that Texas can enforce its law requiring the 10 Commandments in classrooms. The ruling overturns a lower court decision that blocked it. The law requires schools to display a framed or poster version of the 10 Commandments in a clearly visible place. Supporters, including Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, are calling the decision a victory for religious freedom and American values. Now to making America healthy again. We've talked a lot lately about microplastics being in the food we eat and also in our drinks. It's also in the air that we breathe. Founder of Mera Labs, David Roberts, is with us this morning to discuss the dangers of microplastics. David, so good to have you on today. Thanks so much for being here. This has been in the headlines a lot lately. We've covered it here on the morning show. I first want to talk about microplastics to our viewers. What exactly are they and where can they be found?
Vanessa, thanks for having me. Microplastics are small pieces, microscopic, so basically the diameter of your hair. So very small pieces of plastic, even smaller than that, nano size, that slough off, leach out of containers like our water bottles, like food containers, and even our clothing and rugs, and those can get into the air, as you mentioned. And so they are basically ingested, either breathed or ingested, and can accumulate in our bodies. And so the air that we breathe actually is the most, where we get the most microplastics, over 50%. Upwards to 60% of the microplastics comes from the air. And so, having a HEPA filter in your house, especially where you spend the most time, typically in the room that you sleep in, is really important.
I was reading online, and I want to give some of these statistics, David. It's saying that humans ingest 5 grams of plastic per week, and that's about a credit card. That's very scary when you put it into those terms. And then it says it adds up to 50 pounds of plastic over a lifetime. Ingested, not all retained. Again, we have talked about this before. There's so many different ways to avoid this, and we'll get into that. But why is this allowed? Why is this being put into, the grocery stores for us to ingest?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, those statistics about the credit card size amount of microplastics came out of Australia in 2019. And, it seems a little high, but even if it's half of that or even 10% of that, it's still a lot of microplastics. And so, you think about once they get inside of us, what are they doing? Basically, the microplastics get engulfed in things called lysosomes, which are the digestive centers of the cell, and they try to recycle them, but they can't. And so they're, as you mentioned, they build up. And that buildup is an issue because of what microplastics are. They're porous, and they contain a lot of toxins in those pores. Things like heavy metals, things like BPA, phthalates, which are both of those are estrogen mimicking compounds and endocrine disruptors. And so that can lead to things like irregular menstruation in women, early puberty in girls. There's a Netflix documentary recently, I think last middle of March, that came out on microplastics specifically linked to infertility. And so that's because of microplastics leading to low sperm count in men and low testosterone. And so, besides the fertility piece, there's they've been shown to lead to plaque buildup in the cardiovascular system, as well as, one of the more scary things that just came out this month is that because that proteins are attracted to the microplastics and coat them. And so it looks like a natural molecule or a natural compound, and those can get shuttled in cells, can even get shuttled through the blood-brain barrier. And so, not only do we ingest that a large amount of microplastics, but they're getting into our brain. And so that can lead to, issues like the dementia we're seeing that's rampant in our society. But not only that, this also came out recently, is that when you breathe in microplastics, especially the smaller ones, can go through your skin and follow the nerve that goes into your brain and doesn't even have to go through your blood-brain barrier. And so all of these it's sort of a budding field, and it's also an onion where the more we learn about it, the worse it seems to be getting. And so it is an issue. I mean, it's been around though. Microplastics have been around since the 50s. And so I think they're here to stay. If you go to the grocery store, you'd be hard pressed to find anything that doesn't have some sort of plastic in it or on it. And so, so figuring out how do you deal with it, I think is the next step.
You know, and you were talking about the brain barrier. That's hard to get to. We know that with people who have any sort of brain disease, cancers, or whatever. That's why chemo is so hard to get to the brain. It's because of the brain barrier there. So for microplastics to be able to bypass that is very scary. I want to show, because Maha has been very big on microplastics and how to get a hold of on this, like you are. Let's take a listen to a victim that Maha just put out this video just this week.
I've actually done blood filtration, like in-use phoresis and therapeutic plasma exchange, where we measured the amount of microplastics that were taken out of my plasma. And much to what your earlier guest said, I took a full credit card worth of microplastics out of my body in a single filtration. So the fact the administration is looking at these, I applaud them for.
Yeah, that's
There
a lot.
you have it. You know, yeah, that's a lot. And it's really sad. So Bobby has been very big on tackling the microplastics issue. He was on the Hill also last week talking about it. I want to listen to what he had to say and then come back to you, David.
Very few of the studies that were being done by NIH were being done on chronic disease. NIH should be telling us what are seed oils doing to our children? What is corn syrup doing to our children? What are food dyes doing to our children? What is the packaging and microplastics doing to our children? What are pesticides doing to our children? None of those studies were being done. The studies that were being done by NIH and many, let me give you an example of the few that I cut. There was a study, a $2.2 million study from Boston University to study the effects of exogenous testosterone therapy on communication in gender diverse speakers. We got a $3 million study at the University of Pennsylvania that studied anti-vaping social media campaigns targeted towards sexual gender minorities, teens between 13 and 18. We got $1 million from the University of Michigan to study sexual fluidity and longitudinal changes in alcohol misuse. And that's just an example of thousands of studies like that that were doing nothing to improve American health.
Thank you.
And we're going to change that. We're going to have gold standard science. We're going to have replicated studies. We're going to publish our data. We're going to publish our peer review. And we are going to, for the first time in 30 years, return NIH to evidence-based science.
So, David, here he is combining microplastic studies, or the lack thereof, along with other issues that are facing our children. And when you combine them all, it's really a lot of harmful elements out there at such a young age that our kids, our babies, are intaking.
Yeah, it's a big problem. I think it can get overwhelming, but I think the thing that people need to hear is that there's hope, and you can take steps, like I mentioned, with over 50%, close to 60% of the microplastics exposure coming in the air. If you get a HEPA filter in your house, even in one room, or your kid's room and your room, that will cut microplastic exposure immensely. Also get a reverse osmosis filter on for your drinking water. That can do an amazing amount. And then also just one simple thing. Most people heat their food in plastic in the microwave. If you stop doing that, put it in glass or ceramic, each exposure, each meal, it's 100 million microplastics you're going to expose to. It's a ton. And so if you just simply make that switch, it's a big deal. And, you know, there's not having it taken in by your body, but there's also getting it out, and that's a budding field of research. My company has a product, broccoli. It's from broccoli. You can go to mara-labs.com/plastic to learn more. But basically, it was shown in an independent study to get microplastics mobilized out of those lysosomes. So it's like unclogging the kitchen sink, and they start to get out. And so there is hope.
And on your website too, I was looking at it just this morning. There's also some educational articles there
Yeah,
as well. So people can go there. They can learn more about different, avenues that people are experiencing all across, not just America, the world. But I love how you have this tab for people to go and read more and learn more so they can educate themselves on microplastics and also get some help if they feel they need it.
Yeah, that's one of our missions, is to really educate. We also have a 7-day microplastics detox protocol available, and so there are things you can do. It's a big deal. They're dangerous. They're everywhere, but we're learning to take steps. And Bobby just put I think 150 million in grant money out there, and so there's a big movement, or at least a budding movement, I should say, for researchers to start measuring it and figuring out, like we have been doing, how to get it out of your body.
Yes, and we're so appreciative for people like you to help Americans when it comes to microplastics. Tell us your website, where people can go to, and what all you have to offer there.
Yeah, so it's mara-labs.com, and the /plastic is where you can get directed. We have a microplastics detox bundle there. So it's the broccoli product, and then it's the resveratrol product. It's like unclogging the kitchen sink and then expanding the piping so that more things can get through, more microplastics can get out. And then we have that detox protocol. It tells you like what to avoid, like even paper cups that you get your coffee in are lined with plastic, and so if you just bring a stainless steel mug to the coffee shop to get it filled, you're decreasing your microplastic exposure. Just tips like that. Also, we have a blog that we will talk about. We publish bi-weekly and just talk about a lot of issues. Microplastics are things we're focusing on the last 2 months. And so, there's a lot there, and many tips there on how to decrease your exposure.
And real quick, while we're talking about this, it just dawned on me. Will people know if they've been exposed? And I'm sure everyone's exposed, but how do you know that, like the man we just heard from, who had all of these, that's removed from his body, these microplastics? How do you know? I mean, do you start feeling fatigue? Do you have any feelings at all? Like, how do you know when you've had too much microplastics in your system?
That's a great question. I mean, I think everyone's different, so it's going to be a little different for everybody. But I think also the body is incredibly resilient, and so there are natural ways. You're not just continually accumulating microplastics; they're somehow getting out. We don't know exactly how, but basically, or else we'd be plastic, right? It would be, but basically, taking steps to mitigate, taking steps to really be mindful about, like, what am I eating? What am I drinking? What am I wearing? We don't talk a lot about your clothing. I'm actually wearing a synthetic shirt. It's made of plastic. A lot of the workout clothes are made are the lycra, the spandex. Those are all plastic, and when your pores are open, you're getting exposed. And so shifting over to natural clothing, especially with our children, is I think an important step. And also just I think there's a lot of fear mongering going on, and I think it's good to be concerned. I think taking steps to lessen and not fearing, I think, is also important, because anxiety is not healthy. That's sort of rule number one. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no anxiety about everything. Fear not, says the Lord. Okay, well, so one more time, I want everyone to go to your website to check it out, learn more about microplastics. Again, the MAHA movement is big on this right now, trying to get a handle on it. David Roberts and his team are trying to help you and cleanse your body. Mara-labs.com is the website. There you have it right there. Again, there is a tab there for you to get educated. There are articles there to read more on this and how you can protect yourself. Also, our babies. We just heard from Bobby about how kids are being targeted with microplastics and so much more these days. We want to protect our kids as well. David Roberts, good to have you on the show today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
And when we come back, we have news this morning from the Pentagon, the war in Iran, a new leader of the Navy, and no more mandatory flu shots for our military. That's all coming up. Breaking news coming in from President Trump when it comes to the Pentagon as well. Stay with us. We'll have that for you when we come back.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's gonna ship absolutely free. Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code LINDELL10, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo code LINDELL10 and get the medicine you need.
When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LindellReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From Lindell TV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial gatekeepers, no hidden bias. Just the day's news. Balanced, unfiltered, ready when you are. Whether you lean left, right, or straight down the middle, this is where you start your day. One click, one feed, one truth. The decision is yours. LindellReport.com. The news you need, the balance you deserve.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice, speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including Lindell TV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to Lindell TV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
There's lots of news coming out of the Pentagon this morning. First, 8 Iranian women protesters will not be executed as originally planned. President Trump pushed for their lives to be saved. 4 will now be released immediately. The remaining 4 will serve a short sentence of about 1 month. He posted about their lives being spared on Truth Social. He says this is yet another example of how life is in Iran. People killed by a terroristic regime for protesting. As you know, President Trump has been telling them help is on the way. Today, he says very good news, as you just saw, that these 8 protesters will not be executed. And that's just how life was in Iran. And that's what he was trying to free the people of, a terroristic regime. You go out, you say, hey, this is wrong. We don't want to live this way. And what does the regime do? They want to execute you for that. But again, good news coming out this morning that those 8 protesters who the Iranian regime said that they were going to kill, their lives have been saved. With more on the war in Iran, here's Caroline Levitt.
Obviously, there's a lot of internal fraction and internal division, which again just proves the effectiveness of Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Their regime and many of its leaders for nearly 5 decades have been wiped off of the face of planet Earth. So again, the president's offering them a little bit of flexibility because we want to see a unified proposal to the president's very strong proposal, and he's made his red lines very clear. Again, the United States maintains control over this situation, leverage over the Iranian regime. Not only have they been significantly weakened and obliterated militarily, but they are losing economically and financially every single moment that passes with this blockade. So the president is going to continue to lead the free world, to run the United States of America as we await the Iranian response.
And just in from the president, he says this: I have ordered the United States Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats, though they may be, their naval ships, for all 159 of them at the bottom of the sea, that is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. There is to be no hesitation, he says. Additionally, our mine sweepers are clearing the strait right now. I am hereby ordering that activity to continue, but at a tripled up level. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So what he's saying here is that any bogus activity coming from Iran dealing with the Strait of Hormuz, with boats trying to cross through or putting mines in the water, will not be tolerated. And he has ordered for our military to shoot any boat or person who tries to do that. So that's just coming in from the president this morning. Also new this morning, the Navy secretary has stepped down. Big news there. Some reports say he was fired. John C. Phelan is out of a job effective immediately. The departure was sudden and immediate. The Pentagon has not clarified the reasonings. Hung Chow is now serving as acting Navy secretary as of this morning. Now, this comes at a critical time with the U.S. naval operations tied to tensions involving Iran. So we'll see how this plays out with the head of the Navy. Also from the Pentagon today, the U.S. military has ended its long-standing requirements for the annual flu shot. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has signed a directive making it voluntary, effective immediately.
Under the disastrous Biden administration, this Pentagon waged an unrelenting war on our warriors on many fronts, including when it came to denying them simple medical autonomy and the freedom to express their religious convictions. In other words, our men and women in uniform were forced to choose between their conscience and their country, even when those decisions posed no threat to our military readiness. You know what I'm talking about, what happened, COVID-19 and the vaccine. No more. That era of betrayal is over. Under President Trump, the War Department continues to take decisive action to once again restore freedom and strength to our joint force. We're seizing this moment to discard any absurd, overreaching mandates that only weaken our warfighting capabilities. In this case, this includes the universal flu vaccine and the mandate behind it. The notion that a flu vaccine must be mandatory for every service member everywhere in every circumstance at all times is just overly broad and not rational. Our new policy is simple. If you, an American warrior entrusted to defend this nation, believe that the flu vaccine is in your best interest, then you are free to take it. You should. But we will not force you, because your body, your faith, and your convictions are not negotiable. Your health. It's common sense. It's the kind of common sense approach we're undertaking in this department. Rest assured that under President Trump, the War Department will always honor our brave warriors and do everything we can to restore the American people's trust in their military for generations to come. And that's why I'm proud to sign this new policy.
And troops can still get the flu vaccine, but they'll no longer be forced to take it. This applies to active duty, reserves, and civilian personnel. The flu vaccine had been mandatory for decades, since the 1940s. This also comes after earlier rollbacks of the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. And that's your news from the Pentagon this morning. When we come back, a look at how the markets are doing this morning at opening bell and a look at President Trump's schedule for today. You're watching My Mornings with Vanessa, and as a reminder, you can follow me, connect with me on social media. I am on the following platforms: X, Vocal, Truth Social, Instagram, and YouTube. We'll be right back.
You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing: removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% U.S.-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
Mike Lindell here. The radical left and the deep state aren't just coming for our freedoms, they're coming after our money too. For years, they've been destroying our economy from the inside out with reckless spending, open borders, woke policies that crush our businesses. And now they've left us with an inflation disaster that's wiping out the savings of our hardworking families. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to be dependent on the government. Well, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's why I partner with American Independence Gold. It's a veteran-owned company that's helping patriotic Americans fight back by protecting our savings with real physical gold and silver. And right now they're giving away up to $15,000 in free silver and a free gold IRA kit. A portion of all the profits go to 9/11 first responders and veterans at the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. The deep state can't touch your gold, so visit MikeLindellGold.com or call 844-714-4653 right now. That's MikeLindellGold.com. Take back control.
we're back with a look at how the markets are doing today. Opening bell numbers from Wall Street, MarketWatch.com, the Dow, S&P 500, NASDAQ, all down at this hour. Markets, as you know, are volatile and mixed because of ongoing uncertainty around the U.S.-Iran war. Tension and ceasefire talks are the main factors. Also, rising oil prices are also risky right now. In your news to go, President Trump has another full schedule today. At 8 o'clock this morning, he held an executive meeting. At 11, he holds an intelligence briefing. At 1:30, he will participate in signing time. At 3 o'clock, he will host a healthcare affordability event. Now, this is open to press, so be expecting a huge announcement there this afternoon. Again, that's at 3 o'clock, dealing with healthcare affordability. Then at 4:30, he holds a policy meeting inside the Oval Office. And at 7:15 this evening, he will attend a private dinner. For news of the day all day long, log on to LINDELLTV.com. You can also download the Lindell TV app. It is free in your app store. President Trump, he took part in the America 250 prayer event going on right now in Washington, D.C. It's a weekly event where the Bible is being read. Here's the president with his reading from the Oval Office.
Thus Solomon finished the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all that came into Solomon's heart to make in the house of the Lord, and in his own house he prosperously effected. And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice. If I shut up heaven, that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes shall be open and my ears attent to the prayer that is made in this place. For now I have chosen and sanctified this house, that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. And as for you, if you will walk before me, as David your father walked, and do according to all that I have commanded you, and shall observe my statutes and my judgments, then will I establish the throne of my kingdom according to as I have covenanted with David your father, saying, there shall not fail you as a man to be ruler in Israel. But if you turn away and forsake my statutes and my commandments, which I have set before you, and shall go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I pluck them up from the roots out of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name will I cast out of my sight, and will make it to be a proverb and a byword among nations. And this house which is high shall be an astonishment to every one that passes by it, so that he shall say, why has the Lord done thus to this land and to this house? And it shall be answered, because they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, which brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshiped them and served them. Therefore has he brought all this evil upon them.
And our daily Bible verse comes from the book of Timothy. For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. And today we leave you with sights from Montana. Have a good day, America.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free. Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code LINDELL10, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo code LINDELL10 and get the medicine you need.
When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LindellReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From Lindell TV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial